What is going on with Giannis?
Yeah,
Brian?
I can understand why it's frustrating. You heard Doc Rivers' comments last night, and I can understand why he's frustrated because we've seen over the last decade we've seen a number of star players say, "Okay, I'd like to no longer be here." In fact, this is let's just go back 1 year and see what happened with Jimmy Butler, where Jimmy Butler made it very clear he no longer wanted to be with the Miami Heat, and he went on like a 6-week long, rampage to get what he wanted. And in the end, he got to the place that he wanted for the contract that he wanted, and that team ended up being really good the rest of that year. They didn't end up winning anything, but that's kind of more the norm. Giannis has not, viewed it that way. Giannis has not, gone up and said, I want to be traded. Giannis has just expressed frustration, and his agent has had to be sort of the guy behind the scenes that has talked about stuff. And so I understand that what people want is, does he want to be traded or not? It's a simple yes or no question that doesn't have a simple answer because he's elected to sort of try to go through the process without having a firm decision. He's just not thrilled with where they are, but he doesn't know if he wants to go forward. So in the last 24 hours, as I've talked to people from across the league, the question that they're all asking me is, do you think Giannis will actually ask for a trade? Because he's rattled the saber before. As my colleague Shams Charania, he reported a few months ago, over the summer, Giannis was really open and in the mindset of becoming a New York Knick, to the point where the Bucks and the Knicks had trade conversations. It was not the Bucks' idea, I promise you, Rich. And it was not, the Knicks weren't expecting it. It kind of came out of the blue for them. It was started by the Giannis side. Now, did Giannis come and look anybody in the eye and say, trade me to the Knicks? No, he didn't. But those talks took place because that was on the table. So the Bucks are aware that they're in a tenuous position. And they just, they got their biggest win of the season last night. Giannis had an injury, and luckily not a severe injury, a moderate injury to his calf. But fortunately, that is not what we were talking about today. But when they lost to the Wizards on Monday, they fell to 9-13. They were in 10th place in a very sort of, not overly impressive Eastern Conference. The Bucks know that they're in trouble with Giannis. They know that they're pushing it. And so the question really is now, will Giannis cross the Rubicon in the line and say, trade me? I don't know the answer to that. But I do know, and Shams has reported on this for months, that it's something that Giannis is very much considering. And I know that that's frustrating to hear that gray area, but that's just where it is.
No, I know. So the trade talks that you're referring to involving Giannis over the summer that did involve the Knicks was inspired by a vibe the Bucks picked up?
No,
I mean,
come
like,
on.
so no, I'm serious. Like,
No, they were told. They were told.
Right.
So, like, hey, I'm a big actions over words guy.
Yes,
okay.
Sir. Yes, sir.
The Bucks do this deal where they cut Dame Lillard. That costs them $100 million for a player who's not going to play for them anymore. Then they sign Miles Turner. They took a $100 million issue, which was a player that had torn his Achilles in his mid-30s and was owed $100 million, and they doubled down and made it a $200 million investment. The $100 million they're going to pay Dame to no longer be on their roster, and the $100 million they paid to Miles Turner. So they make a really expensive, gutsy move, okay? Giannis sees that move, and his representation says, he wouldn't mind being a Knick. Now, I want you to think about if you're the Bucks. So I promise you, the Bucks did not make a $200 million double down and then say, I wonder what the Knicks are. I wonder if the Knicks are interested. The Knicks, okay, here's how I know that they didn't think this was coming. Because in the last week of July, they signed Mikal Bridges to a contract extension. And once they did that, he was untradeable for 6 months. And I want to just go through the nuance here. I know that when this gets chopped up in aggregation, the nuance will be exploded. But just for this audience and this time, we'll do some nuance.
Thank you, sir.
It's not necessarily that they were like, oh, we're going to trade Bridges for Giannis. But if you're about to enter into a negotiation for a top 5 player in the league, you don't make a deal with a player that takes him off the table to be traded. Okay? So we get to the end of July, and the Knicks do this deal with Mikal Bridges. They feel good about it. They feel good about their team. So I promise you the Bucks were not looking to this negotiation. And I promise you the Knicks weren't preparing for this negotiation. And I promise you the negotiation took place. What are we left with, Rich? Okay, did he ask to be traded? I mean, Doc Rivers can look you in the eye and say, no, he didn't ask to be traded. But clearly, this was an action that Giannis had some interest in. And look, because he didn't demand to be traded, he wasn't traded. They talked, the two sides talked, no deal came through. Giannis said, I'm going to be in Milwaukee, to use his words, for the next 6 to 7 months. The Bucks signed his 2 brothers, and we went off into the season. And the season hasn't gone very well. And now Shams is saying today he's looking at 2 to 4 weeks being out. The Bucks are 1-5 when he doesn't play. Like, I hope that they're able to rally and hold the fort, but where are they going to be at in 2 to 4 weeks? They're in 10th right now. They did have a great win against the Pistons last night, and I mean that is a very impressive victory. They needed it. The Pistons were 17-4. Cade Cunningham played in the game. Jalen Duren played in the game. It was not any sort of asterisks on this. It was a bona fide, real win. They beat them down the stretch. They've been one of the best clutch teams. The Bucks outperformed them down the stretch. But this is just what's happened. And so I know that there's this real need and desire. And if I was a Bucks fan, I would be frustrated too. And if I was another fan who wanted to trade for Giannis, I would be frustrated too. But this is the landscape that we've got here. This is the way Giannis has decided to approach it. This is the way the Bucks have decided to approach it. And so I know that Giannis is concerned about his future, and I don't know how it's going to play out.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.